Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome to this Product People event. So before starting, please remember that you can watch the stream on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and also Twitch. Also a reminder that this talk will be recorded. So if you want to share it afterwards with your fellow PMs, just head out to the YouTube channel. We will also have a Slido running for you to give us some insights and ask questions directly to the speaker later on. So our today's topic is utilizing GenAI for bigger impact on product development. A bit about myself. My name is Ola. I'm a product management consultant at Product People, and I have experience in product management, product design, and marketing in both B2B and B2C domains. So let me tell you a bit of what we do at Product People, and especially for those of you who are new here. So our mission is to help companies discover and deliver great products faster. We do interim product management. We empower our product management community to share knowledge generously while managing the hands-on work of a product manager, product owner, product ops, or product leader on a fractional basis. We also onboard fast, align teams, and deliver outcomes thanks to our in-house team. We curate free events like this one for one of the biggest product management communities in Europe that has over 60,000 members. We can also do a quick icebreaker before we start the session. So we have one question for you. You can now open the slido.com and enter the number you can see on the screen, or you can just scan the QR code that you can see there. And for the ones watching on other platforms, feel free to share your answers in the comments. The question for today is, where do you see GenAI making the biggest impact in product development? Answer A, speeding up go-to-market. Answer B, enhancing product quality and user experience. Answer C, boosting team productivity and velocity. Or answer D, unlocking new business models and opportunities. So now we will take a moment for all the responses to start flowing in, and I will share the results. I'm very curious what will be the result. I think I have my choice already, but I'm not biasing anyone there. I think so far we have only one vote. Let's wait a minute more to get a bit more answers. I think we already got the results, and 50% of people vote on boosting team productivity and velocity. Not sure if we have any other information. We have also quite some votes for speeding up the go-to-market, and speeding up go-to-market is the second choice. All right, then I think we have the winners, the boosting team productivity and velocity. Then I think these are all our results. Let's go to the talk then. So today, Freddy will be speaking to you about utilizing GenAI for product development. Freddy is the CPO at Resourcify. As a CPO, he helps fast-growing companies achieve product excellence and sustainable growth. He's focused on building, scaling, and expanding B2B businesses and platforms across the globe. We can't wait to hear from you, Freddy. So without further ado, the stage is yours now.
Thanks, Ola, and also Francisco from the amazing team of product folks to help here set up and facilitate this session. Hi, everyone. My name is Freddy. I think you can folks hear me also with a bit of my cracked voice. So I'm just recovering from a cold, so I'll be sitting here sipping from my hot green tea and hoping that the voice will sustain. This session will be quite a quick, short and high-level one, roughly around 20-25 minutes. I will share my highlights, my insights to the things that I picked up throughout the last couple of years, leading teams and product engineering departments, also throughout this transition phase. It's more about a thought-provoking kind of setup for thinking, for realizing, for getting some things going, and of course also to instigate some feedback and thoughts from you folks. So nothing too deterministic. There's no right or wrong about utilizing GenAI for product development. It's still a lot of trial and error and a lot of early stage of a nascent market to realize how it can help. But definitely there are already some key lessons and things that kind of emerged that I would like to share with you. So without further ado, I would like to, hang on, let's see that it can work, to go to the next thing. So I will actually start with the TLDR because I think that's what most folks ask themselves. Now we're going to wait for 20 or 25, whatever slides, just to get to the bottom line. So let's switch things around and reverse it. Like, let's start with the bottom line. PM is here to stay. Product has to be here for the next couple of decades. So if anyone here was thinking, okay, now we'll hear the real secrets, how to put things in auto mode and just go and have a rest or drinking my cocktail in some nice sunny beach. Sorry to be the party pooper, but it won't happen anytime soon. And when I say soon, I mean the next 5-10 years at least. So PM is here to stay with GenAI, but to stay relevant, PM needs to adopt. There's some key things that as product folks, whether product managers or product leads or senior product people, all of us need to realize and understand in order to unlock our phase to the next level. So if you're asking yourself, who am I going to compete my next job against? Who is going to be chasing here? These kind of robots, which again, I created these images myself. I didn't take them from Image Bank. I just used one of the GenAI image banks. So I just described what I want to have and actually created it. This is a wishful thinking and it will not happen anytime soon. There is no GenAI robots that will be maybe cleaning your house, but not really, or doing your job for you. That's not going to happen. But actually, this is going to happen. So the next people you're going to compete for the next job, the next people who are going to be standing in your way for the next promotion, the next people who are going to be a reference point for you are the same flesh and blood PMs or product leaders or whatnot who will utilize GenAI for more impact, for more speed, for more quality, for doing more with less. And this is the kind of competition I hope all of us can actually understand, which is not about this, but it's actually about that. And this is what I want to speak with you about, how to get to this level of impact and speed and quality. So I believe we all know the main key 4 pillars of product. In any kind of theoretical exercise, one can divide it into main 3 pillars or 4 or 5, depends which kind of theoretical concept exercise you're going to use. But basically it starts from the why, right? Like the product strategy, the vision, then the market customer analysis, the roadmap and prioritization, and then execution and delivery. I will thoughtfully and intentionally skip the product strategy, not because it's not super relevant and interesting, but it's a whole topic by itself, which deserves a lot of focus and a lot of attention and quite a few complexities. So the TLDR for this is that yes, GenAI can really help and boost with product strategy, but it takes a bit more of a training, practice, and kind of self-learning with that. So with that asterisk and caveat, we'll definitely put it on the sideline, not because it's not important, but for our session today, we'll focus more on the other items. Let's start with the market and customer analytics. GenAI can help substantially and clearly in gather a large market insight. It can take a lot of signals, a lot of bunch of things, and crunch them into something much more coherent and digested. When I say favorite AI companion, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're using, OpenAI, ChatGPT, or using Cursor or going into Perplexity. It really doesn't matter. Each and every tool has their pros and cons. Each and everything has their own UI, user experience, and usage. And I don't want to go into a specific of being very deterministic, saying, oh my God, that tool is like, I have my own experience, of course. I have my own thoughts of which the ones I'm more personally connected with. To be completely honest, I spend a lot of my own funds, but also company funds for what I work for, to doing a lot of trial and error with a lot of tools, and got into some very specific ones that I believe provide a lot of great ROI, but it doesn't really matter which tool you're using. The fact that the GenAI tool can take big chunk of insights and crunch them into something tangible is phenomenal. And we need to use it as much as possible by uploading market researches or sending the GenAI tool to specific direction to gather insights and digest them. To do a Reader's Digest, it's one of the things that GenAI tools can do very well if are being instructed correctly. The other item which I'd like to emphasize is that usually there is a flow, a process of market analysis, market insight. It requires discovery, customer interviews, focus groups, whatnot. Definitely this is not shying away and it's not going away. As product people, we need to keep all the time talking and focusing and connecting with our customers on a weekly, monthly, quarterly level. That there's nothing that would replace it. But having said that, in many cases we have a hypothesis and we want to try it and want to realize how it works. So usually in the pre-GenAI era, we would go and have some ideas, we would craft a questionnaire, we would send it to a customer, we'll get on the call and start interviewing, and then we'll go back and start sketching some wireframes, and then go to our favorite product designer, and then sketch some mock-ups, and then go to some customers, getting some feedbacks, and then putting into some development mode, creating some prototype, going back. Like this kind of a loop would take 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever months just to get ahead with the proper iterations. Now, discovery and research are still critically needed. We have hypothesis, we have assumption about pain points and problems we want to solve. We need to go through the loop, but how can GenAI squeeze that into something much quicker? For example, my team and I are huge fans of Lovable. And when we speak with customers and we kind of realize that we actually hit the spot on a specific pain point and want to see if what we have in mind is actually addressing it, we don't need to go through the entire loop. We don't create wireframes. We don't create mock-ups in most cases. We go to Lovable and create an actual, active, workable mock-up. We create the actual kind of a prototype of that product without going into the full scale of the product development. That means that in a couple of weeks of testing and iteration, we do not need developers and not even product designers. Now with a small asterisk, of course, because in some cases there are product designers involved to sketch things in a more proper way. And of course, if product designers work on Figma, then Figma has their own GenAI add-on, which actually helps to create a full workable mockup out of Figma designs, which is also a great tool. But again, it's Lovable, it's Figma, it's Cursor, it's Cloudy. There are a lot of tools to help do that. But basically, my point is that the full cycle until we have something workable and clickable to show a customer through a second iteration of, does it work? Is this what you meant? How about that? What do you think about this? The whole flow about this would not require any developers, or even in many cases, not even product designers. The PM, we can just jump in, create something, send it out, and get some very quick immediate feedback. So the whole cycle for getting a feedback, if you have a new product idea, a new product design, something that you want to launch, just to test it out with the market, not letting users use it because it's just a workable mock, it's very quick, and the iterations for that could be hours and days of work rather than weeks and months. So testing specific market assumptions are critical. We can't just say, oh, let's go and build something and then let's see if customers, like the days of that are over, right? We need to research, we need to do discovery, we need to realize that now with all the GenAI tools out there, we don't need to go through the length of, oh, now I need to utilize my development team for 2 or 3 weeks of creating something basic so a customer can, we don't need to go through this. We can quickly catch up if that's the right direction or not. And then again, going into gather market insights, that would feed us into realizing if our main high-level assumptions are right and correct. And I'll just get to how to make the market insights much more clear and coherent in a second. But skipping discovery phases and time for working mockup, it's not about skipping discovery, it's skipping the phases. It means we can go through the entire flow of researching and realizing if we're hitting the spot and we're making the right learned decisions, the right bets for our roadmap by doing things much quicker with GenAI for prototyping. So how do we do the market research? and how do we prompt to get to the right direction. GenAI tools cannot comprehend a large area of context, like saying, I want to win a market, or I want to do that, or I want a strategy. For like, if you go very high level, you will get a very generic, very middle of the road, plain vanilla answer, which will not get you anywhere, right? You might as well go to Google and text something and get some Wikipedia answer that would be roughly the same. So as more context and more focus on where you are, what you're after, it's critical. And the only way to actually get to that is to train your favorite GenAI companion tool to know you better. For example, using audio input, just speak out and tell who you are, what you're after, what your company is doing, upload content, upload document, reference web page, whatever you can throw in, even creating your own profile within specific GenAI tools, so it will know you better than anyone else. And then creating more context and talking to him and explaining and rationalizing. It's super critical to a point where you would get much more specific answers. For example, one of now my discovery items with my product team is about, in Resourcify, we're doing waste management and we want to automate a lot of the process, which is kind of like a logistic process, kind of an SAP or Oracle process for waste handling and material handling. And there's a lot of market research about this institute is talking about container density and that institute is talking about that. You need to do a lot of research. So I wanted my favorite GenAI tools, and I have a couple of them, to realize what would the market compute based on this and that resource. And I tried to gather these resources, upload them, and get some answers. It was completely off. And I had to go more and more deeper, provide more context, providing more reference documents and reference numbers, let the model understand more where I come from until I got to the answer. So keep challenging the results. It's also very critical items, because don't settle for just the initial output. In many cases, most cases, it will actually be the wrong one. Just make sure that you have a very critical eye, you don't take anything for granted, and you keep challenging, saying, what is your answer based on? Show me your thinking process. What logic is it based on? What are your resources? What are you basing it on? It's just making a good, friendly, respectful, argumental kind of a dispute with a very smart colleague, in this case, and GenAI companion, and try to figure out how to take the best out of it. And then again, as narrow is the focus, the best results you can get. GenAI is a generically trained model. It's not trained on your specific data, on your specific case, on your specific trouble. It's hopefully well trained, in some cases, in some areas more, some less, on a wide area of global experiences, right? And sometimes they might fit where you are. Sometimes you're on the side case of it and you are the outlier, or what they have is not in your way of reference, and it will go completely off. So you have to be very critical and to employ a lot of healthy sense of cynicism and critical thinking if that answer actually addresses your question, and how can you cross-check it? Because otherwise, you might get off with the results of your research. And the key learning is that, and it's a bit funny here, right? But I just want to be completely respectfully honest here. Utilizing a GenAI for your day-to-day is like utilizing a super smart yet very absent-minded kind of apprentice, right? It's like somebody super brainy. I'm sure you have one of your friends or one of your colleagues, somebody who's so clever, but their mind just go everywhere. And they're so absent-minded and they're like all over the place. And you need to focus them. You're like, hey, what about this? Like, no, let's look at that. Like, just take them through all the time, focusing them on something very, very specific. And this out of uni new apprentice kind of thing, I think it's a great kind of analogy, but it means super smart, super educated, right? GenAI, maybe people you know from your past and present experiences, but they don't really have any real world experience in your world, right? So you bring them on, you give them this small, minuscule, whatever, apprentice fees, and now you expect them to do everything. They will do everything. They will love doing everything, but they need some context, right? You need to handhold them. You need to explain to them. You need to hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what, they don't know anything. They're just out of uni, super smart, super brainy, super educated, but give them some slack. Just give them more context so they can actually be worthwhile and valuable. And that's kind of where GenAI is. So personalizing your GenAI companion, you can create profiling so it knows and profile you. And in some GenAI tool, they say, you tell me, the GenAI is asking you, who am I? What am I? What is my role? What is my goal? What is like, just personalize it to a point where they will actually reflect on your way of seeing things, on your way of thinking, and they can amplify it, right? I just mentioned a few minutes ago as an amplifier to your thinking and add more layers to it, because they can bring so many learnings, so many experiences from throughout the entire universe. And again, audio, great fan. It's a super cool Silicon Valley thingy from all my Silicon Valley friends who do vibe coding. Again, we're not engineers here in the room. I trust we're more product people, but people just put their cool earphones and they just speak to that machine, and then they code through without touching the keyboard. I like entering stuff on keyboard, but I also use a lot of audio and just keep talking and talking and talking and giving a lot of context. It's critical. And for that, you need to keep investing time and attention into your favorite GenAI companion. Small repetitive task, actually, this is where you need to create maybe an engine, right? You have a weekly summary report of some analytics, or a monthly, whatever that is. You need to grab this information here, that information there, this and that, sort it out. Quite a repetitive task. On small, well-confined repetitive task, I kid you not, you'll be so thankful if you'll just give it a try. It can grab all the information you want, can help you, or you can help it create its own template. And then every time you need to go there, you're just saying, okay, let's do a weekly, monthly, annual, whatever report, and also add some of your own insights on all of this analytics and tell me what you think about this, and this and this and this areas, and in that kind of regard. And you will see that some of your repetitive tasks, you can just create an agent, and it will just do that same job, maybe that kind of legwork that you always wanted to give to some apprentice or helper, in the most beautiful way, because it's well confined, small area of focus, and of course, help you out with the stuff that it doesn't add your value, right? Like you doing this report is just piecemealing this, piecemealing that, putting this together, and maybe putting a summary paragraph. But even the summary paragraph, I kid you not, you can get your GenAI to really help you boost it up, and there are ways for this. Now let's go a bit to the software development GenAI again, because it's the main thing, right? It's utilizing GenAI for being an impact on product, and product, the other side of the coin is product development. So not engineers in the crowd, but we still need to think how we can boost our total impact, which is also the developers, the engineers around the room. So really in a nutshell, and there's a huge discussion about this, but just to make sure that everyone understands, AI cannot replace developers. Yes, if you want to create a quick mock-up, a quick kind of a thingy, a tool, whatever that is, a working model for something, to make a point, to get your next investment, to open a new startup, to whatever that is, you do not need developers. Don't hire a developer. Save your money, just build something from scratch with AI to make a point, to prove a point, to see market traction. That's great. When you start scaling a platform, then you have customers, and you have GDPR rules, and you have security, and you have privacy, like what it needs to go into the actual building of a platform with all the sustainable architecture and everything. This is where AI falls short. Now, to be completely honest, unlike on the PM side, I don't think that would last forever. I truly and honestly personally believe that at one point of time, there will still be a need for a certain level of developers, but more and more for the low-level roles. AI is going to chop into this eventually, not now, but in a few years. Yeah, and it goes to the second item. AI amplifies dev work, because if you're a mid to a senior to much higher level of developer, and you look into what GenAI provides you with, working with Cloudy, with Cursor, whatever development tool, doesn't matter. It's very easy to snap on their hallucinations and on the stuff they just go sidelines, or they didn't get something, or they got confused. Again, too much context, too much wide area, they can't fulfill it. So there are all these kind of beta tools right now that Google and others are launching about, oh, you just connect this new GenAI thingy into your Jira to your support tickets, and you just grab the support tickets, write out the code, and spill it out into production, and all goes well. You don't even need developers for support. Well, it doesn't work that great right now, because again, if there's a small, kind of a context error and some typo, whatever that is, quick text issue, fine. If it's something more than that right now, it's too much complicated. So again, the wide area of context of software engineering is, and again, we're not engineers, but as PM, we know that there's the architecture, there's the software architecture, the layer, the domain model, the data model, the services, the backend. Like all of this cannot be digested and comprehended by GenAI. So the two large items cannot heal. It can't comprehend. It can't thrive. It cannot perform on this. But when you, again, as developers, you give it a small framed area where they need to focus and just do that, this is where it goes well. For example, testing and automation. Testing engineers, that you don't need now somebody to automate a testing regimen. You can create that with GenAI and to let it run through whatever you need to try. That's something which is definitely doable and usable. Migration of code, we did a lot of this, and we're doing a lot of this from the older AngularJS now to the newer React Tailwind libraries. Definitely GenAI can do that. Areas of code where we know there is a problem, we need to quickly look for it, and we know roughly what to find, it can help us to spot it and suggest ways around it. Things that we know for sure that are within the context of a specific framework, and now within that very specified framework, we just want that piece of functionality to happen. When it's well confined, well determined, and again, very well crafted with very detailed prompt engineering, with senior engineers looking into what it actually is spitting out, that's definitely something that GenAI can cope with. So again, a helper, a booster, a amplifier of the level of engineering somebody is using. But again, if somebody is completely junior, out of uni, out of school, making the first steps in GenAI vibe coding, a lot of slips will happen while they wouldn't even figure it out. So it needs to be careful that the junior engineers get still enough support from the actual human developers who are more senior to ramp up their act, rather than saying, oh, GenAI will just fix it, because GenAI can make mistakes as well and hallucinate, and the junior engineers cannot really comprehend it. So how to go about this? In our case, for example, in Resourcify, we hugely embraced GenAI. We just opened the hatch for whatever our developers thought of. So we have enterprise corporate license for Cursor and Cloudy, and we're on the Google Cloud. So of course we have the Google Gemini and Vertex and many others. We're using Lovable on our product team and ChatGPT. I also use Perplexity, which is great. It's great tooling, and we should try and error it. I definitely urge you folks to consider to enable your product development team, whether through your engineering colleagues, counterparts, or through directly to the team, to let them try out and handle GenAI. Hackathon and Hackadays are great ways to start it off, doing some quick competition, finding some key candidate topics, running them out, and then seeing how can these topics work and make things happen. I truly and honestly believe that with the food comes an appetite. Like there's hackathon, there's some challenges, people get some prizes of utilizing more AI. You track through the operational dashboards of Claude or Cursor or whatever that is, how much people are using it. And of course, the engineering managers and engineering leads need to promote it. Why is that? Because again, it's an amplifier. If a dedicated senior engineer does X number of points per sprint or whatever that is, their velocity with GenAI will necessarily increase. 20%, 30%, 50%, maybe more. It doesn't matter, but it's a learning curve. And that learning curve, the whole development team needs to go into, because there's no point of time where GenAI will be perfect. There will always be pitfalls. There will always be some downsides to it. But utilizing it means that you and your team will start realizing an up ramp in your velocity, an up ramp in your impact, an up ramp in your speed against other companies and other competitors and other teams, which are, again, many of them, if not most of them, are already utilizing GenAI as we speak. So with that being said, just as a nutshell to kind of, close the topic, make AI your friend. GenAI your friend, and it doesn't matter. ChatGPT, Perplexity, you want this lovable, it doesn't really matter what it is. One step at a time. Not everything on the same day, but just try to start to introduce it to your day-to-day, to your team's day-to-day. Daily usage of whatever that is, AI-powered research, make your developers use whatever AI tools for whatever very specifically kind of contained areas, and boost the impact. Let it amplify your greatest skills further, because definitely that's the future of where we are in the technology world. And I urge you folks, if you haven't done so before, to embrace it with open arms. That's it from my side. Thanks everyone, and I hope it was worthwhile and enjoyable. And maybe now, Ola, we can move to some questions here that I think that have lined up, and maybe we can answer them. Yes.
Yes, perfect. Thank you for your insights, Freddy. That was very informative. And thank you to you all for joining us as well. So now we're going to begin our Q&A session, as you said. So our audience, you can feel free to go to Slido and put all the questions that you might have to the speaker in the chat. I will also give some more time to type in your questions. And in the meantime, I will go over a couple of more slides about product people so that we still have some time for the questions to flow in. So now we can also talk about the use cases when you may want to work with us. Our interim product managers and owners cover parental leaves, scale your product management team quickly, or lead the key initiatives while bridging the gap until a full-time employee joins. With us, you can also get temporary help to drive product discovery and delivery for a deadline and create a big impact in a short time. We can also coach your product management team to reach their full potential through streamlining processes from 0 to 1, including product ops and program management. We can also assist you with running discovery to uncover your next impactful initiative or product. On this slide, you can see some of the B2C clients that we worked with, such as eBay, Tier, FreeNow, or DeepL. And when it comes to B2B clients, we work with companies like World Health Organization, Ometria, Sestrify, or Elucidate. Last but not least, here are some important stats about our company. So we have supported over 619 cross-functional teams and 100 clients from Series A to startups and publicly listed companies. We have 40 product leaders and product managers in-house to deliver high-quality service to our clients, and we also take pride in having 59% of women in the team, with 60% in the leadership roles. All right, now we can begin our Q&A session, and you can still keep sharing your thoughts with us by sending them in the chat or by commenting on other platforms. I think I can already see the first question flowing in, and it is from an anonymous user. Lovable is great, but could tools like this unintentionally devalue the role of UX designers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, there's quite a long, complex answer, and I will just try to give the TLDR because, again, it's definitely a topic. So the TLDR is no, it cannot devalue the role of a UX designer because GenAI tools cannot replace the UX designer. Again, if you are out of whatever, you just want to launch something, you want to start a new startup, you have an idea, you have a concept, you work in a company, you're not sure about this, you want to get it out to customers, get feedback, then again, utilizing the very valuable and sometimes more expensive time of a, experienced UX designer doesn't really help or doesn't really serve an ROI purpose. So you're saying, okay, me as a PM will just go lovable, do this and that, take it out, getting some feedback. But once the feedback is there needs to be a very, very good concrete route to work with a dedicated UX designer to make things proper. By the way, in our case, maybe I didn't mention it clear enough, in many of the cases when we're working with Lovable, we're not letting Lovable design even the UI. Like we have an amazing, great product designer who is actually creating the initial first screens, mocks on Figma, and we feed them into Lovable, so Lovable is actually utilizing them. So if we are deciding to take that into a full-scale production-level product, already the initial design are very close to where we'll be. But again, if you don't have the time, the means, or whatever that is, making shortcuts without a product designer is definitely going a long way, all the way into a dedicated production-level product in the market without a product designer. I would say not anytime soon. It's not there yet.
Yes,
Back
I
over to you, Ola.
definitely agree. Yeah, I can confirm nothing beats a good designer and the holistic context that they have about
True.
the user psychology as well. But maybe the evolution would be that designers could also start using tools like Lovable.
For sure. Yes.
All right, thank you for your answer. The next question that we have is, you mentioned code to code migrations. Have you actually been successful with this migration via AI?
Yes. So again, TLDR, the short answer is yes. I just mentioned the migration from Angular to React. But again, now let's go to the fine print and to the caveat, and let's give it a bit of more depth, right? Like just saying, oh, let's move from Angular to React, it can't really work. We created, Tailwind libraries, and we did a lot of groundwork, and there were a lot of infrastructure alignment and preparation so that things can work. And then our dedicated front and back end engineers need to create like this framework or frameworks where specific services or specific areas or specific screen lived, and then saying, okay, let's take this and now let's port that. And again, when something was well confined in an area which is small enough for GenAI to digest, then definitely chunking it into smaller chunks and then moving things forward, definitely the work. But a lot of groundwork and prep work beforehand, crunching things into small chunkable digestible items, and then piecemeal by piecemeal, Lego piece by Lego piece, the developers work through it. So short answer is yes, it can work.
Nice, thank you for your answer. We have yet another question. They are asking, for a newbie, what's the best roadmap to start learning Gen AI or AI in year 2025?
So again, there are a lot of online courses and like seminars and workshop about this, whether they're paid or free or whatever that is. I don't want to be any recommendation point for anything or everything or whatever that is. Everyone to its own, I would say, abilities and time and attention to it. Definitely, there are more like formal ways into getting introduced into prompt engineering, getting introduced to this, getting introduced to that. There's a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, by the way, running around and on YouTube about people doing this and try that. I don't think, to be completely honest, I don't think it's a one size fits all. And some people say, oh, this is the best pool of GenAI prompt. And if you want a roadmap, use this prompt. And if you want this, you want that. I'm a bit hesitant about this because I don't think there's one size fit all. I'll just take this golden prompt engineer for roadmap and I will get the best roadmap. I think I need to adapt Gen AI to understand me and my pains and my thoughts and my concerns and my problems and my space, so that once I actually go into, hey, now I want you to help me build a roadmap, all the context is there and then I can grab snippets of it. I think the trial error is super important just to get go. Unfortunately, I think the freemium versions of the Gen AI tool are not very powerful. It's the honest truth. So one, it's like the pro version of Perplexity or the pro version of OpenAI, or like, this is from my experience utilizing both freemium and the paid ones. The paid ones are much powerful, but again, they're all $20 a month or $30 or whatever that is. So if your company you work for or yourself can pay for it, like, it's worthwhile to invest in it. But again, the trial and error, the actual usage of it, trying one thing and another thing, and again, the amount of hours and days and weeks you need to put into it is phenomenal, but it's worth it because the ROI is extremely high and extremely visible. But again, to ramp this up, there are always this kind of online courses and workshops and seminars. I'm not against them, but my way was about just a lot of reading, a lot of watching videos on YouTube and LinkedIn, and then just trying things myself for the last couple of years, I would say.
Maybe a follow-up question to that. So you mentioned a lot of different tools and ways to learn about them. I'm curious, what advice would you give to a product team or product professionals that feel overwhelmed by the flood of new Gen AI tools?
Yeah. There's so many, contractors, freelance advisors who are helping to introduce Gen AI. And again, I don't think it's rocket science. There's a couple of like baseline rules that one should follow, like some of the ones I just mentioned as high level. And when a team, a development team, a product development team is facing like, where should we start? Then definitely I would start, let's say, with the Cursor or with the Cloudy, choose one of these, get a corporate license and let people start using it. And then again, if the team, the engineering team is not familiar with how to utilizing GenAI, I would take some reference points or some consultants or advisors would be like, let's find a couple of key main pain point topics for the team who is battling with, and let's start to do 2 or 3 days hackathon just to get our hands around GenAI and to see how it works. Out of these 2 or 3 days with maybe an external who is very familiar with GenAI based coding or development or prompt engineering, that's it. The team is well equipped and it can work by itself to grow its acquaintance. But the main thing here is to start somewhere, right? It's not where you start, it's like to start, to take a topic, to do a hackathon, to spend 2 or 3 days in the room, to figure out how to do this, to try it and chunk it out. You try this, didn't work, now you try that. Like the training and the actual working with GenAI, it teaches you folks so much that even the start of it doesn't matter if it's in the right direction, it will anyway give you so much learning and understanding that you can take it to the next level or to the another direction. So just to start, I would say. But of course, external support can always help with people who already done this, so they can always advise you how to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like the hackathon idea. Also, the community aspect of it and having a bit of fun can also be a good way
It's
to start it
always
off
fun.
and make it less scary.
Exactly. To gamify it, I think gamifying it is super important. To people to feel fun about it, not threatened, but also some feeling of joyfulness about this, because it's really fun to try these things. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, at Product People, we actually also have now an internal lovable vibe coding initiative, and we meet sometimes internally to play around with it. It's pretty fun.
It's pretty fun. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Anyone and everyone in its right mind should try it. It's like in the late 1990s, on the early 2000s, people were like, oh, did you hear about this internet thing? And now there's this new search engine, Google. Like, it's like talking 25 years ago. Everybody should jump there. Like the new smartphones came in. Oh, did you see the new? Like now in another post this revolution about Gen AI, we have to try. We have to give it a try for our own personal purposes, what we want to do at home, want to connect our smart home fridge to something else. Don't hire an engineer, just vibe code it, just do something, use Cursor, use Lovable, try something, connect something, like break something, but it's really something to test and to realize how to get there. And I think one of the main items I've seen, again, also in my teams around here in Resourcify and many other teams of companies I kind of work with or support some of the product leaders, is this dipping the toe in the water and jumping to the water, like how we go about it, what we start. And again, I think the hesitation and not making the first step is the most critical thing. Just stepping in and saying, let's jump to the water. Let's see how it feels. Let's see what it takes, what it gives us. I think that's already a huge step forward, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. We also have another question. So here it is, how can product teams at startup level of maturity realistically leverage GenAI for impact without overcomplicating their workflows?
So it's a very good question. Some workflows will eventually need to change because if, for example, testing, right? Like there's less and less need for testing automation engineers because GenAI can quickly replace it, right? But still, in some cases, there would be testing engineers. But having a QA team when there's GenAI for that, I think the main flows and the main ways of work should not change because GenAI is something more intrinsic about you doing your job. And now instead of taking 5 hours for this task or 2 days for this task, it will take less, right? Because you're just boosting it with vibe coding or whatever you call it, like with prompt engineering. And this is something that if you put your mind to it, you are like, okay, now the engineers will do their work faster. If the engineering ways of work are good and solid and the whole workflow is like, you have pair programming and shadowing and somebody needs to check somebody's code and whatever that is. So whatever somebody made an error, human error, or Gen AI didn't, and they didn't check it doesn't matter. But if your workflow is proper, then Gen AI will just amplify the time for deployment, the time for this, but it won't change anything. Eventually, when GenAI will proceed and advance and companies will get more and more and more inclined to give it a go into an auto mode, this is when workflows will need to change. Because example, I just mentioned it in the start of my presentation, but there will be tools that will pick up support tickets without a human interaction. They will figure out what the ticket is about. They will look into the code, find the thing, and fix it. And then if you let it, it'll just go to GitHub or GitLab and just ship out a new code fix for production. Now, I would be extremely careful about this. One day I will be less careful about this. But this is a major shift in workflows because a machine will figure out what the customer wants. Again, let's assume the support ticket is detailed enough. It will figure out what the problem is. It will find it. It will deploy it. Some workflows will need to change. Maybe we'll have some human moderator in the middle. Maybe we'll do something else. But when we get to that point, some workflows will definitely have to change. Right now, when it's more of a work amplifier, I would say if your workflows need to significantly change because of GenAI, then either you're putting too much importance into GenAI or you are blending it in a way which maybe is overcomplicating it. But in a nutshell, it shouldn't really. Yeah, that's it. Is there anything else?
No, actually, we don't have any more questions. So
Okay.
thank you for all your answers. And yeah, this is it for today. So we would also like to mention that we are hiring and have APM and PM roles open, and you can apply by scanning the QR code on the screen. We would also like to invite you to subscribe to our newsletter where we share the insights and our experiences in product that we gain during the missions with our clients. And coming up next week, make sure you don't miss out our next live stream where Sayan Maiti will be talking about succeeding as a marketplace PM. And you can feel free to join us for a session full of insights. Thank you so much, Freddy, for a super interesting talk and all your answers. And yeah, thank you to the audience for joining us tonight. We hope to see many of you next time. And thank you so much.